I saw the movie Wicked yesterday, and whilst I enjoyed the experience and inevitably will watch the sequel, I don't think it's anywhere remotely as good as fans and critics are saying. I've not heard of really anyone who didn't think this was a masterpiece, and I've tried. I've scoured the internet for even the most harsh reviewers, and even they seem resigned in the opinion that it's just a masterpiece. So I've decided to make a video to kind of show my frustrations and my criticisms, and I'm well aware I am going to be burned at like an effigy of Elphaba. So yeah, Munchkinland will be celebrating my demise at this video. I don't like to discuss people specifically in my videos, but I can't make a video without referencing the very odd interviews that the two lead actors have been making. It's very strange, and the bloody poster, for God's sake, and it did not warm me to them as Glinda and Elphaba. Now, I can already hear every diehard fan about to lynch me because I've never seen the live musical. I know, how dare I have an opinion, but I've been a fan of the music for a long time. So I'm going into this movie with limited story knowledge and simply a desire to hear the songs. Now, to the positives. I love the sets, the costumes. I heard the director talk about how he likes to add environmental sounds like footsteps. And watching it, I honestly picked up on the little noises and I really liked them. The jokes are funny, and whilst there are some colour grading issues and backlighting issues, it looks pretty nice most of the time. I was concerned about the age of the cast, as whilst it's fine for a stage play to have actors closer to 40 than 25, to play young students at uni was questionable. Ariana and Cynthia do pull it off, and although Fiyero did look quite old at points, he looked a bit like 4 in that Divergent movie years ago. The concept of the story is great, and the long runtime doesn't feel long. And this leads me to the less good aspects. The runtime is not utilised well. If you have 2 hours and 40 minutes to play with, and only half of a musical to fit in, which is longer than the whole runtime of your first part, you can afford, more so than any musical can, to build characters, relationships and stakes. And this really isn't done here at all. But that's not my main problem. On to Elphaba. I think Cynthia Erivo is an extremely talented singer, performer and actress, but I didn't feel the Elphaba from the soundtrack's passion, anger and determination at all. She seems super passive, and I heard one review that was slightly critical say that Elphaba and Glinda seem like in 2 different movies. And I know that there's a kind of supposed to be one's more serious, one's more silly. I totally get that. But it did feel like Elphaba was in a much more serious movie in terms of not a musical. It could have pulled, the emotions were very toned down and muted. And that's not how I ever imagined Elphaba being. She's supposed to be a bit abrasive and a bit defensive, in my opinion. And even when she's singing about loathing Glinda, it's not believable. She looks completely unaffected. The only time she visibly reacts to her is when she goes boo. I'm not saying she needed to be nasty, the opposite. She needed to be misunderstood and, with her, and that kind of contributes to her abrasive personality because she's so chilled out that even the most green-hating munchkin in Munchkinland is surely going to have a slightly hard time equating the monster she's been portrayed as in the end of part 1 with the legit unoffensive girl who hangs out with Glinda and the prince. I wanted Elphaba to be angry and defiant at the evil the wizard is doing, not just heartbroken and tearful. The Wizard and I, sang by Cynthia, has no complaints from me. Genuinely really enjoyed that whole sequence, and I enjoyed dancing through life too. But no one mourns the wicked? Where was the passion and anger and bloodlust in the movie's version? I found it jarring how timid they made that song. And one of the greatest musical crimes in cinema, in my opinion, was what they did to Defying Gravity. By breaking it up into, not just once, not just twice, but multiple times, with super long intervals. It was crazy. There was no way you will ever be able to convince me that that couldn't have been done better. I got goosebumps when Elphaba hits those notes and flies away, but then they make her fly back repeatedly and sing more after intervals. at the group that's trying to kill her. It was the musical equivalent of having an argument with someone, slamming the door on a closing scathing statement, only to then open the door, walk back into the room, and say something else to make another point, and then slam the door again and repeat the process. It was strange. I think I'm the only one in the planet who seems to have critiques about this movie that are not just surface level. I don't want to be a hater, but I fear I am. Perhaps when I rewatch this, I'll realise that the movie is actually great and I'm just crazy. But I'm genuinely disappointed because I had very low expectations going into this movie. I genuinely thought it'd be probably terrible. Based on trailers and based on all the interviews and the crazy stuff, I thought this is going to be rubbish. But it actually had a lot more potential than I expected. But I recently watched the Heathers musical live stage performance, and it's on just the stage, and I know that that's a different thing to like a movie. I know you've got to perform differently, but it had so much more emotion. There was much more passion and expressions, and I didn't get that really at all from some of the cast. It was so toned down that it made the kind of other of the world seem a little distracting. So that's really disappointing for me. But anyway, I know everyone's going to kill me. It's going to be burn the witch, burn Medusa, but this is my opinion. Yeah, please comment. I hope I'm not the only one that thought it wasn't amazing and wasn't happy with a lot of the choices, because as much as I enjoyed watching it, I spent the most time waiting to see that passion and emotion, and I didn't. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Bye.